we're so happy to be with you for the very first Sheets webinar. And if you look, I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so I need to close some of my things. There we go. Okay, so this is the link that you all have, which is the outline of our webinar today. And also on here, so you want to keep this, we'll send this to you after, we'll send it to everyone who registered. There are also some links here that you will find helpful as we go along. The format today is that I'm going to be showing you some things about Sefaria, in particular our sheets, and I will take breaks along the way for Hava to ask me any questions that you have typed into the chat box. So we would like it, actually I'm going to be the only one who is speaking right now, and if you have questions along the way, please type them into the chat, and we have times when we'll stop and Hava will ask me those questions. I'm also very happy to stay on after if you have some unresolved questions. Also, while we're doing this, if you're interested in playing along at the same time, you can also open another tab and do it along with me. You might find that's a little tricky. We are recording this webinar, and we'll be sending that with the materials that are right in front of you. And then you could start it and stop it and make your own sheet along with me. That might be a better way to do it. If you have questions that you're not asking, there'll be, I'm sure that afterwards, when you go home and you sit in front of your computer and you say, gosh, she just did this, she clicked here, clicked there, and now I don't remember, we have some things to help you out. So we have a brand new group on Sefaria, which is our FAQs, and the link is here on the sheet. It's on the sheet. If not, I'll be sending it, but I believe it is. And on here, you'll be able to see source sheets that we've made that explain many of the functions on Sefaria. And also, we have a very nice helpline. If you write to hello@sefaria.org at any time, we are always happy to help you. And that's right on the top. So don't worry if you don't remember it all today. I think I want you to have an overview of what sheets are, what they can be, basics of how to do it. And as you're working on it and making your own, we know you'll have questions, and please reach out to us. So before we start, I want to talk about what a sheet is. We call them source sheets or sheets, but they're really something completely different than any piece of paper that you've ever encountered. They are not at all like what you're used to. And what they are is a web page basically that is created by a user, and it can include sources from our library, outside text, media, and comments. And you can arrange them in many different ways. They're always connected to the library, which I'll show you what that looks like. And if you choose, they can be searchable. So other people who are studying a text that's on your sheet, or they're studying a topic that you're talking about in your sheet, they can find your material and they can learn from you. Sheets can always be edited and adapted. So when you're making one, don't worry. It does not have to be the final product. You can always go back. In fact, I go back after I've used something and I see how it got received, and then I can go back and make it even better. So they are never stagnant like a piece of paper is. You can always add more. Currently, there are over 230,000 sheets that have been created on the site, and about 10% of them are listed, which means that they're searchable by other people. And we have over 28,000 Sefaria users who have created sheets. So I'd like to show you about 5 examples. So I want you to start thinking, what can I do with a sheet? What does a sheet mean? What does it look like? Here, we're going to start basic and kind of build up. This one is by our Chief Learning Officer, Sarah Wolkenfeld. And this is a great sheet, but it's pretty basic. It has a text. This text is from our library. And I said that it's always linked to our library. All of these links are live. So let's say I'm studying this and I say, oh, okay, but I don't remember what happened before, and I want to get that background. I click on it, and here I am right in the library, and I can see what's before, I can see what's after, I can look at commentaries. So that's a wonderful thing about looking at sheets on our site. Here she has a text from our library that's connected to it. It's a midrash that goes with it. And then she brought a text from outside that she thought would be interesting. And on the bottom, she wrote questions for reflection. So these are some of the things that you can do on a sheet. This sheet works all on its own. This we did for our Shavuot on Sefaria group. We wanted to provide sheets that people could do some learning on their own that would be able, you'd be able to read. It's not just a bunch of sources together. You can read through it and get a whole lesson. So there's an introduction and some questions. And here we have an outside source. And then further down, we have from our library, we have the Yizkor prayer with the English. And it goes all the way through. So this is something else, we kind of call this a narrative source sheet, because you are giving the people who are reading it, you're giving your audience the whole story. Here is one that adds an audio recording to it. This is a whole lesson. So here we have the introduction, and then she recorded a half-hour shiur, a half-hour lesson, that you could listen to. You would stay right in the sheet and listen to it. And then below it, she put her text. So you can put videos, you can put audio, you can put, the next one I'm going to show you is actually images. This is a photographer that likes to use our work, or we like to use his work, and he likes to have it on source sheets. So here we're using, you can use images just as decoration, but here we're using this as part of the learning. So we have the text from our library, we have discussion questions, and then we're adding images that if you have students, that they would be discussing it and finding it. So these are examples of source sheets. And so I hope that gives you a little, oh, one more. Almost skipped this one. This is what we call a collaborative source sheet. So this is where it really starts to get cool. This is something that we use sometimes, our Sefaria team, we learn together. And so somebody prepared this with a Mishnah from the library and then asked a question, and the settings on this are set that other people can add. And I'll show you how to do all of this. So in our meeting, as we're learning, if you had something to add, you added it. You added a comment, you could add a picture, you could add another text, anything that you want to add, and it has the name of the person who added it on there. So if you're conducting a class with people, either live or not, you know, you could have them over the course of the week, add your comments. So these are all things that you can do on a sheet, which I hope that you get an idea that it's not just the old source sheet of putting up some sources and handing it out, and that's the end. Before I take questions on this section, I want to show you one more thing, and I'd like to show you how it is linked up to the library. So if I go to the Sefaria library, and oh, and by the way, I didn't mention in the beginning that we are providing additional webinars. We had one about a month ago. Some of you may have been on it, where we had a Sefaria 101, like an introduction to everything Sefaria. We're going to run one of those again. We have one where we're going to be with Sarah. That's going to be great. We're calling it Sefaria Stacks. And then we have some for educators. On the source sheet that is in the link, which we're going to also be emailing you, it has information about that and how to sign up for them. But here is our library page. And what I want to do is show you how that sheet that I showed you from Sarah, how it is connected in the library. So she used, one of her sources was Bereshit, Genesis 1, verse 11. And so if I click on this, that opens the resource panel. And again, if any of this is new, come to our Sefaria 101 webinar. And if you scroll down, you see sheets. And now you see that 46 listed sheets are connected, have used this text. So if I click on it, I'm going to see all, first I'll see the ones that are mine. And then if I scroll down, I can see all of these other sheets. And here I see that's the sheet we were looking at. So if somebody is reading this verse and is interested in, well, what did people do with this? It's right there on the side. So it's becomes part of the Sefaria library. These are the sheets that you have created, that you have chosen to be listed. So the default is that it's not searchable like this, but we would like people to make it part of our library, but that's how it's done. Another way to search it is in our topics feature. So I noticed that her sheet, I'm kind of going backwards, was tagged free will. So I'm going to type in here free will. And if you see here, any of these that have a hashtag in front of it, that means that they have a topics page. So I'm going to click on free will. And here is going to be all kinds of information, sources and sheets that are related to the concept of free will. So if I click on sheets, hers is a little bit further down. These are all sheets that either in their title or in their tags, which I'll explain later, are all about free will. And if I go down, eventually, there it is. There is the sheet. So if you tag your sheets, if you make them searchable by listing them, then you can become part of the Sefaria library yourself. So I want to stop there and take, I don't know if we have any questions. These questions are not the how-to, because I'm going to do that right after this. Do we have some questions?
We have gotten a couple questions. First, someone asked about translation. So they wanted to know if there's a connection with Google Translate, because a lot of their students don't read English even, or, you know, let alone Hebrew or Aramaic.
Okay, so we do not have a connection with Google Translate, although you could copy something and put it into Google Translate. We have, many of our texts are translated into English. And so I'm going to show you later how they appear and what you can do with that. Actually, that's a later on thing. I will get to it.
Yeah, and just so you know, I don't know what language you're looking for, but we do have translations of Tanakh and some other texts in several other languages besides English.
But not all of Tanakh, more Chumash. So you'll have to look at that. And
right.
Yeah, and all of those types of things in the other webinars we'll discuss more, but and questions that don't have to do with sheets, you can also send them to hello@sefaria.org, and I'll stay on at the end. Okay,
Yeah,
is there anything else before we get to making a sheet?
Couple more questions. Someone asked if sheets are public or private by default. They are private by default. You have to toggle the little button that says that you want to share it with the library.
Yeah, and I'll show you that when we get there.
Yes, and you can absolutely search in Hebrew. If someone's sheet has not been tagged or titled in Hebrew, meaning most of the content is in English, it might not come up in a Hebrew search.
But the texts would, so you still could be okay.
Yeah, and lastly, just address another thing about making sheets public. You can take it off public listing anytime you want. You can change those settings whenever. And last question, can you do this on the app?
No, and we're going to get to that right now, and that leads us right into the next part. So I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to make a sheet. And so I do want to say that a few things about making a sheet. You have to be on the website. It is not something that you can do on the app. You can't make them on the app, and you can't edit them, but you can read them, but the layout might be a little bit different. It really is a web feature, and you have to be on the website to do it. And you also have to be logged in. So a Sefaria free account is always free. It takes about 2 minutes or less to make an account. You put in an email address and a password, and you're in. And you have to be logged in to make or edit a sheet. You can read sheets without being logged in. There are other reasons to have an account. You can also track your learning. You can save texts and sheets. You can take notes. Those are all other things that you can do. So we're going to start with making a new source sheet. And I'm going to show you a couple ways that you can make a sheet. The first way is I'm going to go back to that sheet of Sarah's, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I can find a sheet and I can say, you know what? I want to do a sheet about free will. And I like that she's got that text. I want that text. And I want, maybe I like her questions. I like her questions. Anything is fair game because she made it public. And so she is inviting you to use her stuff. So I might say, I'd like to take this sheet, but I need to tweak it. This is not perfect for my audience. This is not perfect for for what I want to do. And I have some other ideas. So what I can do is I can click on the header, which here, I'll do that again. So I'm clicking on the name of the sheet in the header, which takes me to the table of contents, and I click copy. And now it says it's copied, and I can view my copy. And what's nice about this, so I'm on the Sefaria education account. So what's nice about this is it says that it's a copy, but it also, what you can see here is it says now that this sheet is by me, by Sefaria Education, based on a sheet by Sarah Wolkenfeld. And what's really nice about that is somebody takes my sheet and wants to copy it and do something with it, it will say that it's based on my sheet. And that's really nice. That's kind of the highest form of a compliment. There are two modes for seeing a sheet, library view, which is where we were before, and then edit. And you need to be in edit to edit a sheet. So I can click on edit, and now, which I'm going to show you how to edit later. So I'm not going to do it now, but I can take off copy, I can take off her name, I can take off and add and do whatever it is that I like, because it's my sheet and now it's got my name on it, but it always has her name on it as well. That's one way. So if you want to just be inspired by somebody else and add it, that's what you can edit, you can do that. But let's say I want to make a totally new sheet from scratch. So up here in the top right, if you're in the English site, of course, all this can be done on the Hebrew site. And in Hebrew, it just means that your buttons, everything's going to be flipped. So I'm going to talk about the English site. So I'm going to refer to everything where it is there. So I'm going to click on my icon. Maybe you'd have your picture there. Maybe it's your initials. And this is my profile page. There's a list of all of my sheets. This is a joint account for all of us in the education department at Sefaria. So there's a lot of sheets. And there they all are. And I click create a new sheet, and I'm ready to go. That's all there is. So now I have a new sheet. I can click on everything. Everything can be edited. If I have that blue around it, it means I'm in editing mode. And I can double click, and I'm going to call this my Sheets webinar sheet. Great title, but you know what? When I make a sheet, I often just put anything up there because sometimes I don't even know where it's going to be at the end. I can always come back and edit everything. And now I'm going to click to move this way. Okay, I'm going to click the save button, top right. You do this once. Please get in the habit of doing it right away. So I'm going to name it, and then I'm going to save it. Only once, because now any other change I made is going to be automatically saved. I know that I'm in the edit mode, which is where I'm going to be adding things, because it says up here, view in library. This is where I toggle between the library view and the edit view. So this is the menu that I get. I can add a source from our library. I can add a text. I'm going to show you all these actually after. I can add media. I can add a comment. So let's start with adding our first source. So there are three ways that I can do it. So let's say that I know what it is that I want to add, and I'm going to type in, I'm just making it up as I go along. Let's say I want to put in Exodus, and you notice it's telling me sort of the format if I didn't know it. Exodus, let's say 3:1. And now I see it even below, and I could say, oh, you know what? I didn't want that one. I wanted the one after, or whatever. I can put in also a range. I can put in to 5 or to whatever, and I see it. So I want to make it shorter just so that our sheet doesn't get too long. So I see what I want, and I click it, add source, and there it is. It's in my sheet now. I also, as you notice, there's browse sources. So I also could do it that way. So I could click here, and now I have all of the categories. Let's say I'm going to add a Mishnah. So I'm going to put a Mishnah, and let's say I want this, and I want this, I want this. And now let's say I want the first Mishnah in the first chapter of Brachot. And it shows me what I have. If I want to do a range, I just select more. And then I press OK. And there it is. It is right there. I'm going to show you a third way to add, which is actually the way that I like to add the most. So I'm going to go back to the library, and I'm going to go into the library. I'll pick something. Okay, let's pick from here. So I click here to open up the sidebar. And let's say that I want to take, I don't really want to take that. Let's say I want to take this. I'm going to take 2 verses. I select it, and then I go to Sheets. I click on Sheets. And now it gives me my most recent one, because it assumes that the one I've been working on most, I want that. If that's where I want it to go, I click Add to Sheet. But let's say I wanted it to go, are we okay? Okay, I want it to go someplace else. Here are all of my sheets. I can pick what sheet I want it on, or I could start a sheet and name a new one. But I'm going to put it in this one, and I'm going to add it to my sheet. I can go to my sheets here. It will add, I can go to the sheet. It will add another tab. I prefer just to do this and refresh, and I'm going to see it on the bottom. Okay, and there it is. It's on my sheet. So now I've added 3 texts in 3 different ways. So from the typing in the source, from browsing the source, and from the library. Now you'll notice that there's a 5th choice. Before there were only 4. Because I picked something from the library, I now have the choice to add anything that's connected to it in the library. So any commentator on it, any place that this is mentioned in the Talmud, any connection, and look at all of them. And I can choose what would I like to add. I can choose more than one, but you'll notice it's going to add all of the comments of that author. So it would add all 5 of them. Even if I only want one, it's going to add all 5. So I'm going to show you people who only have one. So I'm going to add, let's say I'll add the Malbim. And let's say I also want to add Sforno. And I want to add, well, let's just add the 2 of them. So I click what I want, and I add to sheet. Now, I didn't get to preview these, so this might not be the way that you want to do it. So there's the Sforno. I'm going to take off the Malbim. I'll show you how to do that later, but I'm going to take it off because it's long and there's no English. So now I have the Sforno on this verse, and it added that way. Okay, so now we've done 2 out of the 5. I'm going to go through all 5 of them, and then I'm going to take any questions. So the next one is a text. This means a text that's not in our library, an outside text. So, so what I want to do here is I want to decide what type of a text I'm adding first. Am I adding an only English text? Am I adding a bilingual text, or am I adding a Hebrew text? Once I choose, I'm pretty much committed to having those boxes. So any of them, you can get rid of this, and then you can type it. I'm going to add an English text. So I'm going to get rid of English. And I picked something. Here's what I picked. This is a website that I like, Torah in Motion, from Jay Kelman. And let's say I would like to add this paragraph to my sheet. I can go like this, and oops, not there. And let's say I want to credit him for it. So I'm going to say it's from Torah in Motion. And I'm going to just copy it right in there. I'd like to have this stand out. We'll show you how to do this later. I'm going to bold I'm going to underline, and then I'm going to press add to sheet. And now this text is also on my sheet. So this is an outside text. So if there's something from a book, a little piece that you'd like to put in, something from a website, something you see online, you can put that in. The next is really, really where the fun starts to begin, and that is media. You can add an image, you can add a YouTube video, you can add a SoundCloud audio link, or an MP3. I'm going to show you how to do all of them, not the MP3, it's the same as the SoundCloud. Let's start with an image. So one thing I can do is I can find an image. So I would look for something in the public domain. I would look and find the URL. I can paste it in and put add to sheet. But I also could already have it on my computer. So I did that. So I upload an image, and now I'm seeing what's on my desktop, and I had saved this previously, and now I'm going to add it, give it a sec. It might be faster for you. I've got a lot going on here on my computer. So it's okay, and there's my picture, as easy as that. Okay, so that's an image. And now I'd like to add a video. So you can add a YouTube video. Here's one of my all-time favorites, another friend of mine who did a nice video for Bim Bam on Birkat Amazon. And so I want to just copy the URL, and I'm going to go back to my sheet, and I'm just going to put the URL, but just paste it there, add to sheet, and there it is. What's nice about this is it will play. I'm not going to do it so that you can really hear it, but you stay within the sheet. So if I were using this, I would, if I were using it for, let's say, children, because it's a children's one, but if you had an adult one, you could do that. You could do a Rabbi Sachs YouTube video or whatever you like. I could have the text underneath. And so they're listening to it and staying in the sheet. It's not opening another tab. And the text is all right there, which is really nice. I showed you one that had an audio video. That was an MP3. I'll show you a SoundCloud. If you're not familiar with the 929 project, it's a great project in Hebrew and in English. In both the Hebrew and the English, they have a professional voice person who did each chapter, who recorded each chapter. So if you would like to put the Hebrew chapter, you can go on their Hebrew website. And if you want to do an English one, I did that here. It's a SoundCloud URL. So because of that, all you need to do is you copy and then you paste right into here and add to sheet. And there it is. There's your audio. And again, you can have text, you could have something, and it's going to play. You could record yourself on an MP3 or a SoundCloud, or you can take from something else. So now we have this great sheet. We have texts from our library, we have an outside text, we have a picture, we have a YouTube video, and we have audio. So that's great. And now we're going to go to the last one, and that's a comment. So on a comment, this would be, maybe I would put an introduction to something, like an introduction to my sheet, or maybe I want to explain the source that I'm presenting. Maybe I want to ask a question. Here, I'm not going to be very creative. I'm just going to say, this is where a comment goes. And then I'm going to press add to sheet. But I do want to show you, because I've had this happen to me many, many times, where I forget to press add to sheet, and I click someplace else, and I think, oh, it's gone, and I'm so upset because I just wrote this wonderful thing. You can click on comment, and there it is. It's still there. And so I can press add to sheet, and there is the comment. So now we've added everything. We are in the edit mode. Also, you notice that there are pluses in between. Any place that there's a plus, you click on it, and it gives you the menu again, so you can add something. So maybe I put my sources up, and now I want to add a comment. So I can do that, and I can add the comment any place that I want. The last way to insert something, as also you can insert from over here. You get all of the same ones, but you have one different, and that's a parsha. So there might be a reason, maybe I'm teaching a bar bat mitzvah student and I want to put the whole parsha on the sheet. It would be kind of tedious to do it any of the ways that I've showed you so far. So we have this great way that you can just click on. I'm not going to do it because it's going to take up like a lot of space, but I can click on any parsha and it will just put it right onto the source sheet for me. So those are all the ways that I can add things to the text, to my source sheet, to build my source sheet. I can always go back and add more. And what we're going to do next is show you how to format the sheet and how to edit any of that. So I know that I am going to take a short break for any questions about anything we've done so far, and nothing about editing, formatting, sharing, none of that.
Yeah, so a lot of our questions have been coming up are editing and formatting questions. So we will be getting to that in just a moment. And then we also had a question about wanting to work on a sheet that you've copied from someone else, but you wanting to do it off the site before putting it on the site. And just so you know, if you want to do it off the site, that's totally fine. But if you don't have it set to public, you can do whatever you want on your sheet and no one is viewing it yet. So you don't need to take it off the site in order to keep it private if that's your intention. But we will shortly be talking about our options to export to Google Drive. So all those questions will be answered coming up.
Great. Yeah, I have them. We have several in progress in our account, but we haven't listed them yet. And so there's no problem. Nobody's going to see them. No one's going to find them until we're ready. That's my last thing, is that I will list it. And then I hope people will find it, because I love it when people find my sheet and enjoy them.
And we have another question here. Can you add a video that's not a YouTube video?
No. So you'll want to upload it to YouTube and then add it.
Great. And then someone's asking if people use sheets just for virtual classes, or do they also use them when they're meeting in person?
I would use it for meeting in person. Those are great questions. The educator questions are great. I think that you should look for, we have webinars specifically for educators, so I'm not actually going to go there. You can either do that or you can write us at hello. I'd be happy to discuss that with you, but I want to get on with how to make a sheet and make it look great, how we're going to use it. Either check out we have a lot of stuff for that. So we have an educator page and all of that. And if you can't find anything you need, just write us at hello@sefaria.org and we'll get you whatever you need. Can you save a sheet as a PDF? Yeah, I'm going to show you how to do that when I show you how to print. Okay, I'm going to move on. Thank you for the questions. I hope that I get to a bunch of them as we're going to work on editing this sheet and formatting it. So I want to say before I show you that, well, a couple things. First of all, I forgot to tell you earlier that we are always improving everything on Sefaria. And one of the things we're working on now is a new Sheets editor, which won't be out for a while. But while we're doing that, some of the things we're not necessarily keeping up as much. So you will find, there could be something that's not as, I'm not going to be talking about, because maybe it's not as useful of a tool as you might want. But you can ask me about that by writing to hello. And also that some of the formatting options don't appear in the library view or when you print. So we're going to be right now in editing mode. I'm going to be talking about the ones that you can see in all the different modes. On the sheet that I prepared, I mentioned some that you can see in edit mode or when you export them, when you print them out. So right now, actually, let me just show you, just to show you the library view, because keep talking about it. So what's the big deal with the library view? Here's the library view, and it really looks so clean and nice and seamless. So I usually go back and forth just to see how I want it to look and make sure it's looking good on the library mode. Again, to get back to the edit, you click on the name of the title of the sheet in the header, and then you go to edit sheet. And when I'm making a sheet, I am going back and forth quite a bit. Yeah. So there are things I could do to format the whole sheet. One of them that is important, and I didn't pay attention to this to see if I put God's name somewhere on here. Oh, I'm going to pick the only things that don't have it. Okay, well, if I'm in the format menu, the first one is divine name, and I get to choose how I would like it displayed. This is, of course, important for some people if they want to be printing, but also if they want it online. This does carry over to the library view. I'm sorry that I put a verse that, well, let's put the next verse on so that, let's put something else. And see, you can also see, let's see. Oh, I didn't want that. I wanted this. So that you can see what's nice about having it show below. No, that doesn't. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to add this source. And then, so you can just keep an eye over here on the Hebrew side. And this only affects the Hebrew. It does not affect the English. And I can choose a different way to display Shem Hashem, to display God's name. And so there it is. And it would do it, oh, and there too. So it would do it for everything on my sheet. So that's an important one for the whole sheet. Also, I can choose the language of my sheet. I have it set it bilingual. I also can decide this is side by side, where the Hebrew and the English are side by side. I can also choose it to be stacked, where we have the Hebrew on the top, the English on the bottom. But I do want to say that when people view a sheet in the library, we're going to go back to the library view, the viewer gets to also decide this. So even if you set the sheet in a certain way, the A Aleph button is how you decide as a viewer how you want to see it. So let's say, even if I made the sheet to be stacked, I would like it to be side by side when I view it. If I'm a different viewer and that's what I prefer, I can show it that way. The same thing with, sometimes you might see somebody else's sheet and it's all in Hebrew. And I say, oh, there's nothing for me on this sheet because I don't do just Hebrew. I want English also. If it's in our library, and if it has an English translation, I can change the language here. And now that sheet that wasn't really so accessible for me before is now totally accessible. Again, it's not going to translate something that's not already translated in our library. So yeah, so that you have to be clear on that. But that is something that the user, the viewer of the sheet gets to decide. So I'm going to go back to edit. And I want to look at, oh, see, this is perfect that this happened. So it defaults to not being public, and it allows me to do it. And after I've gone back and forth on the sheet a few times, it's always going to kind of encourage me to share it, to make it public, but I'm going to say maybe later. And you can always go back and do it later. So you'll get that once. You won't get annoyed many times. One time it's going to ask you, and it's okay. You can put it off. We'd love it if you did it later, though. Okay, so now I want to edit one of these. So if I click here, first of all, we see that this vertical navy line means that we're talking about this source. And here now I have a few more options for this source. We'll get to that in a second. If I click here near the text, you see the light blue box. This is so important. Now I'm in edit mode. So I'm going to do that again so you can see what happens. I'm going to click on this, look above the sheet a little bit and see what happens. Now we have our toolbar. I have your basic editing tools that you're used to on any kind of word processing thing. We have a bold, italics, underline. I can make it the direction. I can change the color of the font. I can highlight. These are our basic things. And all of these work, and all of them will also go in library mode. So I can go like this, and I can say I would like to make this bold, and I would like to make this italics, And I would like to underline this. And I think I would like this to be in blue. And I would like to highlight this in green. And now I have all of those things. It will show also when I'm in the library view. You'll notice it does not do it. These are basically two separate texts. It does not do the other for you. I can click on here and I can do whatever I want. Here, let's say I have a long text and I want to take part of it out. So I'm just going to do that here. I can select it, whatever I want, and I can go like that. And I can take whatever. Let's say I don't like a translation. I don't like a word in the translation. I don't know. I can change it. I didn't drive the flock. I walked the flock. I don't know. I'm just making this up. I can just change it. And then this is really great because now I changed my mind and I said, you know, that looks so silly to say walked the flock. We don't walk a flock. We drive a flock. So I can select this text again. I have, see it's selected. I have the vertical navy line. I go to the format thing and I can reset the source text. Now I want to say again, this is only for texts that come from our library. Because if it didn't come from our library, we don't know what it is. So I'm going to reset the source text. And in this case, I get the choice. Do I want to change the Hebrew? Do I want to go back? This only goes back to the original, so it's all of it. So like in the Hebrew, I made many, many changes. I would be going back to the beginning. I'd get rid of all of it. But let's say I only want to do the English because I just don't like it that I walked the flock. So I'm going to change, and there it is. We drove, here it is. We drove the flock. So it's all or nothing, but it's for each one of these individually. It could be both, it could be either. So that is something I can do to edit. Another thing that I can do, only for a source that's in the library, is I could do, we saw this before, I can add a source title. So I can call this Moses at the bush. Okay, and I can put that there, and I'll show you what this looks like in the library mode. Looks kind of nice. And you can also see all the other things that I did. So that's only if I'm doing it above a text from our library. That's something else I can do. As I said, you can change the language. So those are your basic things that are in this format. The format. Some of these only don't show up in other modes, so I didn't show them, but you can look at them later. The next thing is one more menu that's really important. This is the hover menu. So when I hover over any text, and this is not just from the library, this is all of them, including, I'm going to actually work on a picture, including an image, we have 5 or 6 things. So this one is copy to sheet. So this is, let's say I have another sheet and I say, wow, I would really like this question mark to be in one of my other sheets. So I click here and it shows me all my sheets. And let's say I can pick one of them and add to it. And now that will be on another sheet. This one is really important. I use it all the time. This is the remove one. So I click here and it's very nice. It has 2 steps, so I don't do it more than I want. And it asks me if I want to remove it. Yes, I do. And now it's gone. Okay, so we have the copy, we have the remove. This is indent. I'll do it on a text. It indents it a little bit, and then it outdents it, if that's a word. And then this one also really, really important, to move it up or move it down. So I can move a source up, I can move a source down, and I can navigate this way with this hover menu. So that one is really, really important. Okay, I just threw so much at you. So it is all on our FAQ on how to make a sheet, how to format a sheet. But if you would like to ask some questions right now about something I didn't cover, you are welcome to. Hava, you got anything?
I'm not seeing anything that we haven't gotten to, although perhaps wondering about the translations. When you're putting a source in the English translation, does it default to a specific version, and can you change what that version is?
So if you're adding it from the library, like remember I showed you there were 3 different ways. If you just type it in the source, it won't. But if you do it from the library and you selected a version and then you want to add that version, yes, it'll go into it with the version that you chose.
Great. I don't see any other questions other than a question about seeing the webinar again. We are going to send a recording of this webinar out to everyone who registered. So keep an eye out for that.
And now you can see how I think you might want to like watch it and stop and then do it yourself, and then you can start it again, because really it's through doing, as we all know, that's how we learn how to do it. So our last part is we're going to talk about sharing, printing, copying, deleting. So we're going to do all of that in the next, I think we can do it in the next 7 minutes, and then more questions at the end. So if you made it this far, let's keep it up and get to the last really, really good stuff, because now you have an amazing sheet and now you want to do something with it. So I want to make sure that you know how to share it with other people, because we definitely would love to benefit from your learning and teaching. Okay, so this is the share button on the top right. So we have the view in library, and now we have the share button. Okay, so the share button is going to open up this menu. And this is such an important menu, mostly self-explanatory, but of course I'm going to explain it anyway. So here is your opportunity to tell your audience or yourself what your sheet is about. Maybe you want to say, I know that this, I'm sorry for talking about teacher stuff, but I know, like, because I was an elementary school teacher, and I make a sheet and it's on the level of my 3rd graders, and my friends see my sheet and they think, wow, she's really slipping. All she knows is this. And I want them to know that, like, this is for 3rd graders. Don't judge me. So I can write here, this is a sheet for teaching about whatever. Whoops. Okay, whatever. I could say whatever I want about it and put it there. I also can tag it. And this is how people find your sheet. So, and this is also how you organize your own sheets. So I showed you that we have this humongous list of sheets, and sometimes I don't know how to find my sheet. So if I've tagged it, I can find, like if I've tagged all my webinar sheets with webinar, and I want to find where is a certain sheet, I can put in, I can search for webinar, and then they come up. So I can tag them. So here, let's say this one is Exodus. It also is going to give me, I could just type it and enter, or it will give me some suggestions. I can say that it's about Moses. I want maybe it to be Moshe. Maybe I want it to be in Hebrew also, so that I want all kinds of people to find it. I can tag and tag and tag. This is how the topics page knows what to put there. This is how people can find your sheet. This is the very popular list on Sefaria sheet. So you will see it defaults to no. And as soon as I click it to yes and click save, now it's searchable, which means that every source that I used, it's now connected to that. It means that it could come up on the topic page. It could come up in a search. So that's great. Of course, this sheet is not worth it for anybody, so I'm going to make sure not to do that. I would do it at the end, though, after I have the sheet where I'd like it and I want people to be able to find it. So that's how you do that. I did not talk about groups. I'm not going to talk about groups right now. We have an FAQ about groups, but you can make a group, and you could, here's how you would, these are groups that I'm on, and you could add it to your group. This is where you get the link. So let's say I didn't list it. So now it's not public, it's not searchable, but I have a group of people. Let's say I want to share it with my family. I made a sheet for my family for our that everybody could print out and use for Seder. I did a Haggadah, so that since we were all over the world, and people, I wanted them to be able to see it. I wanted them to be able to add to it. and here's my link. So all I do is I copy my link. I can put it in my email. I can put it in a WhatsApp. I can put it in I can put it in Facebook. I can put it anywhere that I would like. And then, so even though it's not listed, these people can access the sheet. So that's very important. You also could do it from up here on the top from the browser. But this one gives you the library view. And if I'm in the editor, it's going to give you the editor, but that's fine too. And this is where we do what I showed you with the collaborative one. This is what we did for my family for our Pesach Haggadah. We use this button. So this is anyone with access, meaning if you listed it, that means everybody on Sefaria. If you didn't list it, but you sent it to people, it's those people that you sent it to. It defaults to they can only view it. They can't add to it, they can't edit it, they can only view it. That's the default. But if I change it to add, then all of those people can add something. This is what I showed you with our team learning. People can add comments, people can add a text for the library, people can add a video, people can add whatever. This was really great for our family Haggadah with the little kids added some pictures. They took pictures of their artwork and added it. People added their commentary, what they wanted to talk about at the Seder. And that's where you do that. And it also, when you do this, it has the name of the person because the people have to be logged into their account. And then it says, and that was just really wonderful. It's wonderful in a class. It's wonderful among friends. You know who made the comment. It's really nice. This one I use less. But if you're working on making a sheet with somebody, this is that they get to edit it, which means they can edit the text, they can remove a text, they can do anything, and it doesn't say who did it. So this is if you're working on a project with somebody, you don't want to say this person did this and this person did that, and you want to be able to edit the whole thing. This I wouldn't really do if I were listing it because it's giving everybody the opportunity to do whatever they want to your sheet. I wouldn't really recommend that. But what's nice is you can always go back and change it. So let's say I'm working with somebody on my sheet and I do set it to add, everybody can add it. And then when we're done, I can maybe want to put it back and everyone can view or they can add. So once I have everything that I want, I press save. And now we have it. You can click on more info. You can see all the things that you wrote. You can also edit from here. That also takes you there. Okay. I didn't talk as fast as I had said I would, so now I want to make sure we get to printing. 2 ways to print. One is right from the site in the file menu print. This is also the person who asked about the PDF. So this is printing to my printer, and I could see what it just like a regular printer thing. And then here's save to as a PDF. I can click save as a PDF, and then if I press save, it'll save it as a PDF. That's one way. A lot of people who print though prefer to do it in a different way. And that is to export to Google Drive. The reason people prefer this is that Google has way more editing. They have way more engineers and they have many, many more sophisticated editing tools than we have. Also, when we print, you can't move, like some people don't feel that it's spaced too far. It's gonna take too many pages. I wanna move it. So we're gonna export to Google. I'll show you what that looks like. You click it, it's syncing with my Google account. And now I open in Google Drive. And here it is. Now I want to do this at the very end because you cannot import from Google. So you can only export. So now when I'm doing this and I'm going to be printing, let's say I want to try to get it on fewer sheets, I can click here and I can move it up and I could do whatever it is that I want and I can print it. So that's the second way to print. I'm going to go back for just a couple more things.
I just want to quickly add about exporting to Google Drive. If you have never done that before on your account, the first time it will ask you to connect Sefaria with your Google account, yeah. And then it will be able to do it automatically. Yeah. It will just ask you that first time.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. So another thing that you can do is we talked about sending it to somebody else, sending a URL to share it, but also you can embed the sheet if you need an embed code. And if you don't know what this is about, that's fine, because that means that you don't do this. But if you have a website or something you want to need an embed code, you get it right here. It's right in the file menu, embed, and then you can use that. Here in the file menu, we talked about this at the very beginning, you can copy the whole sheet. And the last thing that is important, you can delete a sheet. So, you know, in the end, I don't like this sheet. I don't want it. I can delete it. And this also gives you a two-step, so I don't do it by mistake. So I'm going to cancel it because I still do want it, but that is how I can delete a sheet. That's a lot of information all at once. I appreciate all of you who hung on through the whole thing. And I will take questions, and we will be sending you the source sheet in an email, and I will add, and now you'll know how I did it. We'll have to upload it to YouTube, and then we'll add it to the sheet so that you'll be able to see the video and see all of the things on the sheet, and we'll send that to you so that you can refer back. But please use our very new group, the Sefaria FAQs. That will help you a lot, and write to us at hello@Sefaria. So,
all right, we've got one question, and if you want to just share your screen again, yeah. On a topics page.
Sure.
We have a question about tags. So tags are super important, not just for your own organization of your sheets, but so people can find them if they're publicly listed. Those tags are how they get listed with a topic on our site. So when you go to, here we have the Hanukkah page, you'll see these are all the sheets that are publicly listed that other people tagged as Hanukkah. So they tagged their own sheet as Hanukkah, and now it comes up on the Hanukkah topics page for everyone to find.
Also, they also do get it from the title. That will also help, but all these things help you to get your sheet found, which is really, really what you want to do, because you've created something great, and Sefaria is all about sharing and learning together. And so, you know, it's so wonderful to see all these other people's sheets, and so they would love to see yours as well. So you definitely want to tag. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like we have any other questions. If you have one, please type it into the chat now. And if not, if you have questions later that come up for you, please, like Rachel said, send us an email to hello@sefaria.org.
And check out our other webinars. Our next one, I think, is the Sefaria Stacks with Sarah, which is, she'd never miss a webinar from her. And then we're going to be I'll be doing the Sefaria 101, which I think is a week from Thursday. And then educators, we have some really special webinars that Sarah's doing. So please look at those because you don't want to miss it. It's all good. We're so happy that you joined us. So thank you.
Yeah, and if you are not already on our educator mailing list, if you are, you would have received an email today with a link to find all of the educator webinars. If not, send us an email at hello@sefaria.org, and we can help you either get registered for that or send you the link to find those webinars. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we hope that you got a lot out of this, and we'll be sending you the recording and the sheet in an email tomorrow.
Oh.